You good, Kevin?
Yes,
Kevin's always good.
for the most part.
Okay. I'm lost, Justin.
Oh,
How did Gary think that this is a question for the government? Or is he saying it is a good question?
I think it's a many is a question, so I'm gonna follow the first one, sure this.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call our council meeting, our work session to order. It's Tuesday, May 6th at 2:30 p.m. So we'll begin with our roll call. Councilor George Handley. George Handley.
Vicky Bogdan.
Gary Garrett.
Rachel Whipple.
And Catrice McKay is also close by. She'll be joining us shortly. Travis Hoban is online today and will be online. Well, you'll let us know when he
Almost.
is online. And Craig Christensen is excused. Welcome, Travis. First on our agenda is
Hi, thank you.
great. First on our agenda is the approval of minutes. We have the April 22nd work meeting and the March 11th and March 25th council meetings. And Catrice McKay is here as well. On the work session for April 22nd, Kevin, where we have the roll call, Craig was able to join us for the council meeting later that night, but he was absent for the work session. So maybe just in parentheses next to his name, put absence or put him down lower as absent, make that note. As you will today, where Travis is online, is remote, and then Craig is excused. Are there any changes to any of these meeting minutes? If not, we'll declare the minutes approved by unanimous consent. Our first agenda item is a presentation regarding Provo City 2024 Sustainability Report. They're checking to see if Don Jarvis is in the room next door. Dustin, do you know if the administration is in town today? Okay. Yeah, we will. So Don Jarvis will join us shortly for the sustainability report. We're going to go ahead with the second item, which is a presentation regarding the Covey Center 2025 performance schedule presented by the current Covey Center manager, Stephen Pullen. Right up here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Malia, can he plug in here? Plug in. Or Dustin?
Oh,
right.
yeah, we have been.
Great.
Do you have something different?
Do you have additional slides?
This will work.
Okay.
We can't plug in.
No problem. Will this
Yes.
That does work.
mark it? Well, it's a pleasure to be with you today. This is a presentation that we presented to the producers board on April 29th. Basically going over the upcoming season, the 2025-26 season of presentations that are coming to Provo, to the Covey Center. Although this isn't the first show of the season, this is the. Oh, you bet. This is kind of a exciting, big event. This is a new musical by Jay Osmond. It was produced and performed over 200 times in the UK. It toured all over the country in packed houses, venues much larger than the Covey Center, and was very successful over there. There were a couple of venues here in the United States that were vying for this project. And because Jay Osmond is from Provo and wanted to make the North American premiere here in Provo, we were lucky enough to get it at the Covey Center. It's a very exciting project. Tim Threlfall, who you may know is one of Utah's finest directors, will be directing the project. And this will happen in March of 2026. Let me just show you a little bit of a teaser video that goes with this.
You hear the one about the worldwide pop sensations that sold 100 million records and lost everything? Well, it's kind of a story. There was a time where we were on top of the boys, and we worked hard to get there. You walk on American television, right in front of your eyes. And it wasn't just the five of us for long. Our little sister Marie made quite a splash. Father always said it doesn't matter who's up front as long as it's an us. But even after a lifetime of working together, one bad decision and we were left with nothing. It's tough being the world's most famous family, and we've all got our stories to tell. I'm Jay Osmond, but I saw everything. Just like
So that gives you a little taste of what the show is like.
So Stephen, is that a traveling cast then?
No, it'll be cast here locally by some of the most talented people in Utah and produced entirely locally.
Great.
The first show of the season is Tony Danza's Standards and Stories. This is a really fun show that Tony Danza's been doing for many, many years. He sings, he tap dances, he plays the ukulele, he tells stories from his boxing days and from his television days. I'll just play a brief little part of this video so you can get an idea of what's that like.
how about you? I love the Gershwin tune. How about you?
So he comes with a four-piece band.
When the storm is due, I like to take the chips.
And this is one night only, September 29th. It's a Monday night.
And get my
2025.
brakes are not too slow, stop, and they give me a thrill. Holding hands in the movie show when all the lights are low. Not seem new, but I like them. How about you?
Goes into a little soft shoe, and it's a really fun show. It's been getting rave reviews all over the country. Our Polestar data, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, shows that the sales records are quite good, and we should expect to do something similar. Next up, we've got a play that the Covey Center will be producing called You Can't Take It With You. I've included a little video here from the 2014 Broadway edition, which gives you an idea of what this very hilarious play is about. About a very eccentric family that is trying to get pushed out by the IRS, and does a lot of wonderful things about life and personalities and family. You can get a little idea of just how eccentric and funny, fast moving. It's really a lot of laughs, front to back. For the sake of time, I'll keep moving forward here. Next up, we've got the Doo-Wop Project in October. And the Doo-Wop Project played Tuacahn about a year ago and did very well down there. Again, you can see the Polestar numbers in the lower right-hand corner there. They're selling good numbers and good ticket prices. We believe that this show will be very popular as well. And I'll just show you a quick little snippet of their work. These are a bunch of Broadway stars that came together and put together the show. There's numbers from Jersey Boys and Motown hits and everything to do with the doo-wop movement, the 50s and 60s. One of the things that I'm looking forward to with all of these groups, but this one in particular, is we're such a small venue. We only have 667 seats. So you can really enjoy shows like this without being, clear up in the nosebleeds. Next up, we've got, this show is called Eternamente, Dia de los Muertos. And it is a combination of one of the best mariachi bands in the country coming out of Galveston, Texas, and one of the best ballet folklorico groups coming out of the same region. And this particular show is on October 30th, so the day before Halloween, and its theme is Dia de los Muertos. And here's a little clip of what that looks like. So if you ever saw the movie Coco, this is very similar to what you saw in that movie. So we have a very large Latino population here in Utah County and in Provo, and we want to try to cover all of our bases. We've got another show that I'll show you in a minute that kind of plays to our Polynesian population. Next up in November, we've got Richard Thomas, who you may recognize from many movies, but probably most notably from his role as John Boy in The Waltons, if you're old enough to remember that hit TV show in the 70s.
I was gonna go for it, but yes.
What's that?
It.
It, yeah. He's spent the last 30 to 40 years as kind of a Broadway stalwart. He's done a lot of exciting things, including he was the first person to take over from Jeff Daniels in To Kill a Mockingbird, the Aaron Sorkin revival that was just up a couple of years ago. And then he did the national tour of To Kill a Mockingbird. We were actually hoping to get him in that show, but he decided to hop over onto this one-man show, and it's brand new this year. So this will be the first time that it's made the rounds. So I don't have any video to show you of that. Then our first show, we have quite a big Christmas stack coming in December. The first is Christmas in Killarney, which is a beautiful Irish musical dance traditional number.
Village of Killarney comes alive in the 1920s with world-class Irish dancing, classic Christmas favourites, and a heartwarming story about love, family, and tradition. Bring the entire family for a Christmas celebration, the Irish way.
That'll play for 2 nights, the 2nd and the 3rd of December. And then the 4th, 5th, and 6th of December, we have Mrs. Doubtfire coming in. This is a national tour of a Broadway show. It's probably the biggest show we've got coming in. It's pretty pretty big all the way around. A lot of fun with this one. We've been trying to gear pretty much our whole season towards families and family entertainment. And this, I think, will be a real highlight of the season. Then we've got the Nutcracker coming in for 2 weeks in December. This is actually a rental. The Utah Metropolitan Ballet rents the Covey Center for 2 full weeks. And they put on this version of the Nutcracker, which is very special. It's all of the leads are danced by professional dancers. I'm sure you're familiar with UMB. I'll skip over their video because it's not actually part of our season. And then after that, on the 22nd and 23rd of December, we've got a Charlie Brown Christmas. This is really geared towards the kids and the families. Show you real quick what this is like.
The iconic Peanuts characters in a Charlie Brown Christmas live on stage. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the gang bring everyone's favorite holiday TV special to life, featuring a heartwarming story and classic Vince Guaraldi tunes performed by a live band. Saturday, December 21st, 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. OC Performing Arts Center. Tickets on sale now at etix.com. Join the Peanuts for a Charlie Brown Christmas live on stage.
So we just closed on You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown in our Black Box series. And I just became aware this morning that Charles Schultz's great grandson was in the audience 2 weeks ago, and he gave it a standing ovation, just loved the show. So we're excited to bring a Charles Schultz back to the Covey Center in December. Valentine's Day 2026, we've got Absolute Adele, a tribute with Jennifer Sella. This is a fantastic tribute show. As you're probably familiar, there's lots and lots of tribute shows going around the country. I wanted to kind of scale back on the tribute shows this year. We did 5 of them this year. This is the only one we'll be doing next year. And this one's kind of special because when Adele herself announced that she was no longer touring, she kind of handpicked this young woman, Jennifer Sella, to do the one and only Adele tribute in the country. And so we were lucky to be one of the first venues to present this. And we were even luckier to get it on Valentine's Day because it's a perfect date night. And she's pretty wonderful. She looks like her, she talks like her, she dances like her, she sings like her. So rather than paying $1,000 for a real Adele ticket, you can pay $29, come hear the same music and see someone that looks a lot like her in tribute. You know, there's so many tributes out there. There's probably 10 Eagles tributes, 10 Creedence tributes. There's 5 or 6 John Denvers. There's 5 or 6 Neil Diamonds. I mean, they're very popular and they're very good, most of them. But we wanted to try to tap into a little bit younger demographic with our tribute this year. Because, you know, last year we brought in Three Dog Night and Neil Diamond and ABBA, kind of groups that appeal to the folks that are now in their 60s and 70s and even into their 80s, whereas Adele appeals to a much younger demographic. And we're hoping that we'll will grab some of that younger demographic with this show. Next, this is that Polynesian show I was telling you about. This is a singer named Kalani Pea. Maybe you've heard of him. He's a very famous, he's actually from Hawaii, but he's popular throughout the Polynesian world. And he has kind of a pure gold voice. He did a Christmas show in Salt Lake about 3 years ago, and it was just absolutely packed. He's a 3-time Grammy winner. He's performed all over the world. And he has some kind of connection with Utah. I'm not sure what it is. I'll have to find out. I think he has family there, so what is it?
It's Polynesian.
Well,
Sea Islander.
could be it.
They come out.
Yeah, I think this show is going to do very well, especially amongst our Polynesian population. Although I think he'll be wonderful to anybody. Next up in February, we've got the Mikado. This is our nod to our classical music audience. We wanted to provide some kind of classical music, but we also wanted to do something that we felt was going to be popular. So it's one thing to do Madame Butterfly or La Boheme or something like that. That's a true blue full-on opera versus a Gilbert and Sullivan, which a lot of people equate with musical theater. And as we all know, musical theater is extremely popular here in Utah, but especially here in Utah County. And so this is a brand new production. It just premiered last year in New York. It's going on tour for the first time. They completely revamped it. They took out all of the kind of politically incorrect stuff that we've seen in the Mikado in years past with the white face and the kind of trying to mimic Japanese looks and culture. There is none of that in this piece. It's a truly colorblind cast. And I think it looks just terrific.
A thing of shreds and patches, of ballads, songs and snatches, and to read love. It's peaceful school of me, places full of the happy, built to bring the finish me. It's school, here's a hobby, here's a hobby.
That gives you a little idea of what that's like. Next up, we've got Bobby Collins, a wonderful comedian, very family oriented. In fact, I've got a little video from the last time he was here at Dry Bar about 3.5 years ago. I think you'll get a kick out of this.
Small venue. So in closing, it's nice to be here. I've never been here before. They flew me in to Provo International Airport.
We know a little bit about that, don't we?
One. The gate number 1. No tower at the airport. One guy in a lifeguard ship. So we both got off the plane.
I think he'll be a little surprised to see how things have changed in a couple of years. Next up, also in February, we've got Bobby, by the way, is in May. Got these turned around a little bit. Next up is Tina Turner, the Tina Turner musical, which is really exciting. This is kind of on the level with Mrs. Doubtfire. It's a national tour with well-known Broadway actors in it. So again, multiple award-winning show that we'll get to see right here in the Covey Center. Next up is a family show called Catapult, Shadow Dance. This was on America's Got Talent and was very popular.
Today's Catapult, these are my incredible dancers. Doing. We're adding a whole new complexity to the storytelling.
There is no other act like them. I think they're very unique, they're very special.
So we've had Catapult in the Covey Center a few years ago. It was very popular, sold out. We're excited to bring them back. Then we've got this incredible swing band that has performed at Disney regularly called Fat Cat Swingers. And they say that if Bruno Mars and Frank Sinatra were to form a band, this is what it would look like. And I got the opportunity to see these folks in San Diego back in September. And they really are this vivacious and lively, and the energy is absolutely incredible. And then we've got our big tribute. Every year we do a tribute to a kind of an iconic rock and roll figure. 2 years ago we did Tom Petty. This year we did Bob Dylan. Next year we're doing George Harrison. We don't know which album yet. Typically they'll do one album in the first half, and then they'll do kind of greatest hits in the second half. So I imagine it'll be one of his early solo albums, and then second act will be, you know, Here Comes the Sun and all of his big hits. And then lastly, in our black box, we are doing either a Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol or a new rendition of The Gift of the Magi. We haven't quite decided yet. It'll be one of the two, but here's a little sneak peek at Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. It's a one-man show. The set is very exciting and intricate, and the actor it really calls for a virtuoso actor who can play all the different parts and keep the audience captive for the full 90 minutes or so.
I'm not nice. Anything else? Well, really, you changed my life.
And that is it. So there's 18 shows coming in. This is in addition to about 148 rentals that'll be coming in next year. Right now we have 6 free concerts. We're trying to bump that up to 10 of the Excellence in the Community series that has become so popular. They're like sold out a couple months in advance now. We've got 2 more left this year, and they're both sold out.
Fund those free concerts.
It's a combination of the Covey Center and the rat tax. So the Covey Center donates we waive the rental fee, and we donate our labor to run it.
And rack tax comes from other areas, not just our area,
Our meaning,
right? Like I'm saying, it's not necessarily just Provo rack tax being used, it's other counties rather. Right?
no, it's my understanding that it's just Provo's. Any questions or?
Seems like a great lineup, Stephen. Congratulations. Well
Thank you.
done.
Thank you.
Look forward to that.
We're pretty excited about it. Thank you.
Do you ever get inquiries from different theatrical groups or things wanting to stage productions at the Covey?
We do. In fact, we just got an inquiry this year that a company that wants to do something in our black box theater in May of 2026, possibly 2027, and another big musical that wants to go in there in July, August, and September of next year. It's actually a musical that was in the Covey a couple of years ago called 1820. You might have heard of it or seen it. They want to bring it back and do an even longer run with it.
Yeah. Do you do anything to work with our local theatrical troops or anything? Like, do we try to encourage them to look at the Covey as a venue or?
Well, we have worked with several groups that will partner with us in collaborating, putting on a show that's a co-production between the Covey and another group. But typically we're sole producers, and we're drawing on talent from all over Provo and all over Utah County, sometimes even Salt Lake County.
Thanks again, Stephen.
Thank you.
Well done. All right, we'll now move to our presentation regarding the Provo City 2024 Sustainability Report. We welcome Don Jarvis, who is our Sustainability Advisor. Will present to us here today. Welcome, Don.
Thank you. Technically, there are actually 3 sustainability committees in Provo. There's the Mayor's Sustainability Committee for high-level stuff. There's the Employee Sustainability Committee chaired by Hannah Salzel, there corner, and the Citizen Sustainability Committee. And let's see, does this thing, how do I work this, Justin?
Right.
The right one?
Right here.
Oh, that one, okay. Duh. Okay. Yeah, all right. So there's the Citizen Sustainability Committee, as it was back in early 2024. You can see it's early because we still have Travis Ball and Kat Linford. Provo Power always works very closely with us. We're their main advertising agency, and we work very closely with them. And they actually provided us a small grant for our work, showing people how they could use more electricity and pollute less. So yeah, we meet at 7:30 a.m. We've actually moved it a little earlier. We have sort of a Darwinian approach to selection of committee members. 10 of them are actually invited by the mayor, and anyway, the rest, we have people that come that just want to watch periodically. And our coordinator, Hannah Salzel, she's a coordinator, not a director. There's a lot of stuff going on, and she coordinates it and is in charge of doing a lot of it. We had a problem figuring out what is the actual tree coverage of Provo when we did our sustainability and resiliency plan. And we were able to figure out with BYU's help that it's actually about 17%, which is a little higher than what we expected. And that jives with what Google thought it was about the same time that we figured out what it was. And then we also have 1,000 Trees program that Hannah works on. We're about halfway there to getting our 1,000 trees since 2022. Work closely with Provo Power. I guess you know that Provo Power is headed by an ex-forester. So he's really onto this, and we like that. We have a CPRACE program that was established in Provo. It's actually a state approved and a national program. We approved it for Provo back in 2016. Didn't get used a whole lot until this year, and Hannah helped the River's Edge group use this highly advantageous loan program for energy efficient development. And so now it's getting better publicity thanks to Hannah on our Provo's Green Business page. And Rock Canyon Trailhead was reopened after years of public-private partnership and a lot of work by the mayor and other people. And Hannah had a lot to do with help, actually, the reopening.
Well, I'm just signal boosting this all press.
Okay. So Provo has been a tree city for 40 years, thanks to Provo Power. And we're continuing and increasing that. And this is the River's Edge group, which really enjoyed having these advantageous loans. You can't do that unless the city approves it. And it was approved, the program was approved years ago. Only recently did they figure out how to use it. And there's the mayor opening Rock Canyon Trailhead. It was a great public-private partnership between Provo City and a local citizens group and Utah County. And Hannah helped with the actual reopening. a lot of what we do in the Citizen Sustainability Committee is actually just education, public outreach. We have a very serious program for schools. We give our quality lessons for 409 children, 17 adults. We do displays periodically and encourage people to switch to electricity, which will improve their electricity bill, not their electricity bill, switch to their overall bill and reduce their pollution. The new thing last year in 2024 was the invitation for citizens to come visit an all-electric house. There's several all-electric houses in Provo, including the mayor's. And she let me know when I was bragging about mine that she had one a long time before I did. And then there's some really fancy houses that are $1 million houses that are really well insulated. Ours is kind of an ordinary house, but we made it all electric. Had a few visitors, but we give them time one-on-one. And we work closely with, as mentioned, with Provo Power. They gave us a small grant for the next couple of years, and I don't think we're going to go through that grant. We're going to have some left over. We just use it for our swag and small expenses, copying expenses. They store our materials there, loan us a tent when we need it, and always attend our meetings. By the way, I hope you'll feel free to ask any questions along the way. There's no reason that you can't just ask what comes to mind. And I'm really sorry to have to follow the last presentations, which are really zippy. I'm not up to their speed. There's community outreach. There's my wife, Janelle, who's a member of the committee and does the lion's share of lifting on this. She goes to most every elementary school in Provo to help the children understand about air quality and when is the best time to exercise and when they should probably stay inside. And then we do community outreach. There's Hannah again and Janelle, and this is Christy Lehman, who is sort of my official co-chair of the committee. And we don't have a picture of one of our main new members who was sitting in the back there. He was working the lines, and because people stand in line, while they're standing in line, they're willing to talk about the exact nature of what an all efficient electric house would look like, or electric switching from gas to electric. Okay, and here we are showing about the all electric house that they learned of tax credits and Provo Power's $1,000 rebates for ducted heat pumps. And they also learned that heat pumps actually do work in Provo, contrary to popular opinion that many people think that heat pumps only work in warmer climates, but it works just fine here. And it works well in all the Scandinavian countries as well. And it actually is cheaper than, we save about $16 a month on utility expenses. And we get a lot of help from BYU. BYU, with its 35,000 students and another 15,000 employees, is a big part of what Provo is. They used to not care too much about sustainability. When I first came in, I made a suggestion that we ought to do this and that, X, Y, and Z. We're working with the mayor. And what could BYU could do all these things to help. And the person who was head of sustainability at the time said, well, Brother Jarvis, we don't want to get ahead of the brethren. So, but they've changed since then. They're very much in favor of sustainability. They earned a STARS International Award for their work on sustainability and planning, crafted and published a sustainability plan, which it's the first time in BYU history they've had a sustainability plan. The Green Week, they've had it for several years, multiple activities. And they've actually established a stewardship lab down in the old federal building between 7th and 8th North. And that's allowed them to do environmental research And they have geospatial services has worked carefully with us in establishing our tree coverage and other things that we need.
Don, when is their Green Week?
Green Week, well, among other things, they have a recycling extravaganza in which the kids help with recycling.
Is that during fall term or
No,
winter?
it's right during mid-April. They try to do it as close to Earth Day as they can,
That's what I
but
was wondering.
but it's after the semester usually, so they
Okay.
do it usually like the middle of the month.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, they have lots of activities. It's really a circus of activities. Include one of my favorites is mulch and mingle. They do mulching around the trees and together. It's fun. The coordinator for BYU, he's excellent, is Brayman Leak. And he's a key member of our Citizen Sustainability Committee. Almost never misses. And we're glad that and that sponsoring institutions are much more interested in sustainability than they used to be. And then we also have, as I mentioned before, Green Business Awards. We're now advertising them. Mega Diamond received the highest award in Provo's Green Business Program. They reduce water use 30%, CO2 emissions by 89%, invested in LED lighting, and they have 100% renewable energy. They are a marvelous company, big company, right kind of in a fairly residential part of Provo. But we're simplifying our Green Business Award partly at the mayor's and others' suggestion that make it easier for people to apply for and more interested in it. This is Mega Diamond is among our largest firms. They produce industrial diamonds, and they're known all over the world. Here's a woman charging the big tetrahedral press where they make the industrial diamonds. It's Tracy Hall's invention. We also have a little agricultural commission that reports to the Sustainability Committee. We continue to work on agricultural conservation, including the Burr family farm. We began work on urban gardening and elected some new leaders, Angela Marek and Clint Whipple, to pursue these. Angela sort of focuses on agricultural conservation, and Clint does work on urban gardening. And as you know, home gardens are old and valued Provo tradition. And so we want to sustain what Provo is. We love what we have in Provo, and we work with others and are pleased to be part of the action. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any questions for George, for Don?
The compliment to George.
We appreciate your great service, Don, and
Thank you.
your
Appreciate
report today.
Appreciate being part of Provo City.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Don.
I will say, like, if Mega Diamond hadn't done the Green Award, I don't think I would have heard of it. Like, how cool is it to know that we've got one of these industrial diamond manufacturers in our city, and like a really nice way to highlight their work.
It's a really big company, international.
Yeah, like I love learning things about our city. It's so cool.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don. Thanks. And we'll talk about the vision, the handout for the lawn watering.
So this handout was passed out in our last citizen sustainability meeting. And this was it prepared by who?
By
Mike.
Scott and by Scott, Provo Power Director.
Scott Bunker.
And then good man in the Public Works and myself.
Yeah. Anyway, it's super useful thing that we can share with our residents on how to save water on our yard, because we've got lots of good resources, but this is a nice, concise thing that people can easily take with them. Thanks for bringing it.
I will see,
Please, question.
not really a question, it's more of a statement. I was talking to one of my older friends that lives in my neighborhood yesterday. She called me for something and, you know, that, what is it? The Utah Water Conservation,
Utah Conservancy.
yeah, some water
Water
that.
Conservancy. District.
Yeah. She called and she said, I don't think that most people know how much they overwater their lawn. She said, I didn't even know how much I overwatered my lawn.
Enough to raise rice, probably.
Well, she said she stuck a bowl outside and she said she was looking around and she's older and she has a hard time stumbling around the internet. So I don't know how she came across that, but she said she was supposed to water an inch 2 times a week. And she said, I stuck a bowl out there and she said, Becky, I'm watering way more than an inch. And she's on a 1/4 of an acre and she's not hit that. She only hit the 60,000 gallons in the summertime when she had a leak and when she redid her, her swim spa. So I'm like, oh gosh, Diana, we need to do that a different month. But yeah, so I think not only this, but also, you know, I see them pop up from some of my neighborhood chairs from time to time on our neighborhood Facebook pages about, no, it's not time to water yet. Or if you do water, make sure you know how much you water and when you water.
Good point. That's what we're trying to do with this handout. And that's a great point.
So yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a brain freeze, couldn't remember Drew Tate's name. He's one of our members of our committee and very active, helpful.
Hey, thank you, Don. Thank you, Drew, for coming.
Thanks,
today.
Drew.
Next, we have a presentation regarding Provo River Channel enhancement. This will be presented by Mike Mills, the Executive Director of Utah Reclamation, Mitigation, and Conservation Commission.
It's not here to be here.
Cool. We will.
You should be there.
Maybe. Oh. Here he is.
Here.
No.
I'm Mike. How are you?
I should have waited if you would have found me.
No problem. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and just share, you know, some highlights of what we're going to be working on in 2025. If you recall, me and our project coordinator, Eric McCauley, were here in October talking about the Delta project and kind of an overview picture of that, an aerial photo looking towards the southwest. And we really completed the bulk of the work on the Delta back in October. I think most everyone's aware, and opened that up to the public just about a week before Halloween. And it's been very popular. There's been a lot of activity down there since that time. But we've now shifted our focus, like we planned all along, to working on this remaining channel of the Provo River. It always has been an important recreational feature of the system down there, and we've always wanted to maintain that. And so to kind of zoom in a little bit on, you know, exactly the stretch we're talking about, we have Utah Lake State Park over here on the left, and then on the upstream end, it's really Lakeshore Drive, the street just to the east of Lakeview Parkway. And so we have a variety of things happening down there, even right now. And I'm just going to kind of step through each one of those improvements. If you have questions or concerns as we go ahead, feel free to stop me and ask, and be happy to answer the best I can. The first thing to touch on, you know, when we planned the Delta project as part of the public input process that took us several years to complete, there was a big concern about what would happen to this remaining channel. And so we made the decision with public input that we would dedicate a minimum of 10 cubic feet per second of water that would always be supplied to that stretch of river. And we built a diversion structure. If you remember, back in 2023, we diverted most of the Provo River out towards the Delta. And then we're providing the 10 CFS through a temporary structure until we could build the earlier version of this. And we completed that heading into the spring of 2024, and it did not work well at all. It had a lot of issues, especially at high flows. And if you remember our winter of 23 into 24, it was quite snow laden. And so we had quite heavy runoff going through last spring. And it quickly became apparent that what we had built here wasn't going to cut it. It was very difficult to keep it clean at high flows. And so we made plans last August to rebuild this and then adjusted those plans a few times. And so the end of January, we started work on this new structure. And while we did that, we did have to shut off flow to that stretch of channel, but decided that if we had to do that, doing it in the middle of the winter would be the best time to accomplish that. And so we had this finished at the end of March, and we've been providing really 10 to 15 cubic feet per second down that original channel since that time. And with this rebuilt structure, it will be much easier to clean. It has a much wider opening that will allow it to operate when flows are relatively low and also when flows are really high. So we're pretty comfortable in this commitment and being able to meet this going forward with this new diversion structure. The other issue that was very maybe not controversial, but got a lot of attention as we planned the Delta project was the water quality in this stretch of channel. And so back in 2012 and 2013, this is back before we had even finished our environmental impact statement and really had even designed the Delta. We spent 2 summers collecting water quality data down through this channel. And I kind of spent the early years of my career working down here. And if it's not June, July, or August, it's a pretty nice place. But those months of June and July and August can be pretty rough down here. And these graphs, the red dots indicate temperature. The green dots are dissolved oxygen. We had some gaps in our data. This is 2012, this is 2013. Anytime red dots are above the red line, that's when the water's getting too hot. Green dots below the green line, that's when we're not meeting the state standard for oxygen in the water. And so we knew as we were planning the Delta, planning this project, that we were going to run into trouble with water quality. And so if you look at the pictures over on the side, these were taken last summer, and you'll notice the spots in the river where you see kind of white bubbles. That's part of our aeration system that we installed in 23 and have been testing for the last 2 years. The first round of testing in 23 showed us that when our aeration system ended, our oxygen benefits ended very quickly. And so we had to extend it further down the Provo River. It now goes all the way to Utah Lake State Park under the Center Street Bridge, and then comes upstream to Alligator Park. And then we have a second system that was installed right below Lake, or right downstream of Lakeview Parkway, that also provides aeration. And by keeping the water well oxygenated, we're able to combat temperature increases and also support fish, because we want this to stay as a community fishery and a resource for recreation down here. Just to back up quickly, I mentioned the 10 CFS. We can also release much more water, maybe even up to 10 times this amount down through this diversion structure. We probably will rarely do that, except if there's some sort of management need. Like if the channel becomes filled with undesirable vegetation. Last year, there was a lot of duckweed down through here. We could spend a couple hours sending a slug of water down through here to help move that down to Utah Lake. So gives us just another management tool to address some of those concerns.
So you can just flush it.
Basically, yeah. And then down at Utah Lake State Park, part of our commitment to keeping this a usable recreational resource is we are in the process of building what we call the small downstream dam, but it's essentially a water check structure that we designed in order to help minimize fluctuations in the water level back through this original channel. And we started building this in the spring of 23, and it's taken us a long time because it wouldn't stop settling. So engineering process of building a dam, you have to wait for settlement to stop. So you're preloading the surface, letting that settle, adding another layer until that ends. It finally stopped settling around November of 2024. So well over a year and a half to get that completely where it needed to be. And our construction crew, they will be coming back in about 2 weeks. And this is the project that they'll be focused on, and probably take them until about the end of July to finish this up. So a couple of artists' renderings. This is what it will look like if you were downstream at Utah Lake State Park on the north side of the river, looking back up towards this dam or check structure. And this is a condition where the lake is at 4486, so about 3 feet lower than what it is today. Right now, we're really close to the compromise elevation. And you can see the level in the lake is quite low. We have water cascading through the structure there down to Utah Lake. But the level in the original channel, we're able to maintain at about 4488, 4487 and a half. We kind of want to keep it within like a 6-inch fluctuation up there so that it's easier for people to reach the water. Yeah, go ahead.
So the purpose is to.
So the purpose is to have less fluctuation in that small part of the river.
Right.
Okay.
And this makes it easier for people to reach the water. If this were to get down to 4486, you would have people climbing down over concrete.
Right.
Areas where the bank is just vertical.
How much space is there from here to the lake?
It depends on the level of the lake. Right now, this is all continuous, like you would say this is right at Utah Lake. But when the lake recedes, it's a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
If I back up, so this is the Center Street Bridge, back up here. It goes off.
Yeah, I'll take.
Okay, thank you. This is Utah Lake State Park, and the dam is just kind of right there. Yeah, Becky.
And so the dam, is it supposed to release 11 CFS?
The dam, it's really unlimited.
Oh,
We could
so it
put
is
a lot of
unlimited.
water through there. Right now, we have cofferdams there, and so we are running a pump.
Right.
Because the lake's so high, it won't gravity flow from the channel out to the lake. In fact, the lake is backing up into it.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, and so we're having to pump water. We're really kind of recirculating it. But if we were to shut off those pumps, the level in the channel would come up a little bit.
Okay. So we're not worried about it if we dump 40 CFS into that river channel, it'll still be able to go over the dam and into wherever it needs to go.
When the dam is
Plug
done.
it or anything.
When the dam is complete, that won't be a problem. If we were to do that right now, with as high as the lake is and without the dam being finished, we would start to flood neighbors along that original channel. So you can kind of see it in, so this is the lake at 4492. So this is 3 feet higher than where we're at today. We haven't seen levels close to this since 2011. That was the last time we approached 4492. If the lake were to ever get back this high, it just completely inundates that water check structure, and it's all continuous with Utah Lake at that point. And at this point, you're starting to see flooding, in Lakeside RV, the Ropes Course, the Burr Family Farm. And so under these conditions, it really wouldn't make any sense for us to keep adding 10 CFS into this. And at that point, we've written into the management plan that we would be sending everything out to the Delta. But under these types of water conditions, I want to illustrate, this has happened, 2011, we were close to this in 1986, 1984, we were well above this, so it's not a condition that is very common at all.
It's like a 20-year flood or a 100-year flood.
Yeah, and under those types of conditions, there are concerns throughout the valley.
So why are we flooding to the north instead of to the south or both ways? Is it just because it's lower to the north?
I'm not sure I completely
Well,
understand.
The
but
Burr family farm's to the north of the river. It's not. to
It
the south.
is, yeah,
And then from what I understand, the ropes course that's flooding is in the north, not on the south, right? Or was it flooding?
right. The ropes course is on the south side, Burr Family Farms across the river. to
Right,
the
but Ben
north.
owns some property just right next to Burr's
He does.
to the west. And that's the part that's flooding. It's not the southern part that's flooding.
Currently, there's not anything that is flooding.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I mean, if it were, like you said, if we had this overflow, it would flow and flood the Burr family farm and the ropes course and trailer park. That's all to the north, right? That's not to the south.
yeah.
Or is it gonna just flow everywhere, just north and south, and it's just not gonna be?
When we reach about 4490, 4490 and a half, the low part in Skipper Bay Dike is right in here from the Utah Lake State Park campground. And we actually see water flow in from Utah Lake back down to the Provo River. Really, this whole field becomes flooded at those elevations.
That's 4490.
Yeah. We own this land right here. All that is flooded. Even at 4489, we have a couple areas of standing water out there on that.
So that just because it's lower north of the river than it is south of the river, that we're getting the flooding north instead of south?
Yeah, it's really an influence of the lake. So before Skipper Bay Dike was built here, Utah Lake extended here
Right.
out towards the east, very similar to the footprint of the Delta. It's just the presence of those dikes that are preventing that right now. And Dale Despain, he started pumping in March down here. He got his pump running to pump out water from the drainage ditch, rudimentary drainage ditch system he has to try to keep these lands dry enough for grazing. And if it wasn't for him pumping, we would probably see pools of water out there, whereas right now they're kind of all in this corner.
Well, Ben's got some pools up to the north part by the road, doesn't he? There's quite a bit of pooling.
Back in here, I think there are a couple, this is Ben's place here, and then he owns
Yeah, that stretch.
on the north side
There's
too.
closer to the roads. There's a lot of pooling.
Yeah. Okay. So jumping back through downstream dam. The next thing we'll do after the dam is finished is we're going to put in 2 non-motorized boat launch facilities. Well, this didn't turn out great. But one of them will go in at the west trailhead, basically across the street from Utah Lake State Park. The other one will go in at Alligator Park. And these are just sidewalk wide cement ramps that will go down into the water. So somebody could carry a kayak down there, put it in the water and then step into it, kind of thing, just to make it a little easier to get boats out there on the water. And then we're putting in 3 fishing platforms. 2 of them are just upstream from Lakeside RV, and the other one is pretty close to the west trailhead.
Tell them how deep Alligator Park was. When you told me that was really amazing.
Yeah, should be pretty good. That picture I had of the kayakers, they were right at Alligator Park.
Well, how deep is it? Tell them how deep it is.
I didn't hear
Is
you,
it-
sorry.
How deep is Alligator Park?
Oh.
Like 21 feet?
21 feet right now with the lake as high as it is. It's been dredged so many times over the years to try to reduce flooding that it crazy deep.
Yeah, he was telling me it's deeper than any part of the lake.
Yeah,
Water's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And then fish stocking, I mentioned earlier, and of course with the fishing platforms, we want this to continue to be a place people can go to fish. And so about 3 weeks ago now, DWR put 400 9-inch long rainbow trout into the channel. And they'll repeat that effort again in May and June. And at that point, we'll kind of make a determination of, do we put more rainbow trout in or maybe shift to a more warm water species? But we've gotten this established as part of the stocking of community fisheries along the Wasatch Front. And so they'll continue to do this moving forward. Mosquito abatement, as you can imagine, this was a big issue as we went through our planning process. And so in 2019, before we started the Delta project, we funded Utah County to put additional monitoring sites out in the area of the Delta. And we've maintained that since 2019. And as you might expect, mosquito numbers fluctuate greatly with lake levels. As the lake comes up and creates these pockets of water that we were just talking about, they're great places for mosquitoes to breed. We also provide additional money for mosquito control to Utah County, and they hadn't had to touch that until 2024, when in July they did tap into that money to do some extra treatment. And going into 2025, we've worked with them to add another mosquito monitoring site at Lakeside RV so that they will know very quickly. They check these weekly. And if it looks like there's going to be an increase, they'll be able to treat it pretty rapidly in response to that. So that's a partnership that we anticipate maintaining in perpetuity, just to keep mosquito numbers down to pre-project levels. We've also funded Utah County to come in and repave the trail from Lakeshore Drive down to Utah Lake State Park, a trail that parallels the old channel. With our construction process maybe taking longer than they anticipated, they've let me know they're not going to repave now until probably early 2026, probably this time next year. Working with John Bunderson last week, we are going to try to get them to help us with a section up closer to Lakeshore Drive, upstream from Lakeview Parkway, to get that completed kind of at the same time that we open Delta Gateway Park, which is the next. Yeah, that didn't save to a PDF too well. But Delta Gateway Park, we were able to acquire about 4 acres of land on the south side of the river, right where Lakeshore Drive goes over the Provo River. As we were acquiring land for the Delta project, we've transferred that to Provo City, and then we funded the design of a park and then have funded the construction of this Delta Gateway Park. And, you know, we've never done this before. We've never helped build a city park, and it's pretty exciting. I was down there last week, and to see the playground start to take shape, all of the shade structures that are there, I am definitely biased, but I think it's going to be a pretty cool park when all is said and done. We've added another paved pathway to help people get to the river a little bit that we didn't anticipate. And this is slated, thanks to the work of the city and all the diligence, to open this up at the end of June. And I think it's going to be exciting. I hope that people really enjoy it.
People are really excited for it.
Good. I think that, yeah, some of the pictures, you know, the playground here, can't really capture how cool it looks on the ground. But this used to be just an area that no one would ever do anything there. And to open this up and allow people to enjoy it, I think is going to be a pretty cool thing. So.
Justin, can you have Jennifer put that on our calendar, the June 25th? Yeah. Thanks.
The other thing we've ran into is we've been calling this stretch of river the old channel or the original channel, and it's not very descriptive. It is confusing for people, and we think it deserves a better name. But we are really bad at naming things. You know, we'll name something and nobody else is calling it that. And so we have established a working group with the city and the county and DWR and a few other partners. And their recommendation was that we kind of bring this to the city council for possible input of what would be a good name for this remaining stretch of the Provo River. And some of the ideas that have been thrown around: Alligator Park Pond, Provo River Lagoon, Airport Hollow, a lot of different things. But we've talked about maybe doing a poll on the Delta website. Maybe there would be a better website out there, or even having people down on the trail asking for suggestions. But it's something we think that you would be more appropriate, or at least your input would be greatly appreciated in finding a name for this. Yeah.
I may have mentioned this to you like however many years ago it was that you and I first met, but I know Dale Despain was so involved in heroically giving up a lot of land and cooperating to make the Delta restoration happen, that I think I said, well, what if we named the Delta Despain, the Despain Delta or something like that. I don't know if this particular stretch, anyway, it's just a thought. There's some way of honoring his family. There's others, obviously, so that's why it could be a little awkward, but I'm just brainstorming. But recognizing the people who, you know, entered into cooperative relationship with you and with the city, and to make this happen for the public good. Seems like there might be some way to honor them, even if we named it something different, but there were plaques along the way or something that kind of honored the people whose lands we're walking on. But that's one thought I've had.
It's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Where did Alligator Park come from? Like, is that?
I don't know.
It's an old name.
Somebody moved here from Florida or something.
Yeah.
It's the little county park kind of area, parking spot.
Yeah. When I started working on the Provo River in 2004, that's what we called it. And, you know, as Google Maps came out, that name ended up on Google Maps. I don't know.
We need a good name though, because I think it really would help establish the reputation. We've had so much conversation recently about the trees, and there's varying perceptions of what that's all about, and some people feel like it's been abandoned, and I think naming it would give a really clear signal that it's a valued recreational area. Anyway,
My comment would be that it's been known as Alligator Park for forever. You're never gonna ditch that name. No matter what you name it, it's gonna always be Alligator Park to many people that go across it.
True.
So.
But for me, Alligator Park's just the parking lot there, and that bend in the river. But yeah, Alligator Park Pond, you know, always ends up on our list every time. But
That's probably why, is because it's known as Alligator Park, right? So.
If you want to collect input, having a naming station, or where you can drop off cards at your grand opening, you'll have a lot of people there, and that would be a fun activity and data gathering exercise.
it's a good idea.
I like having the citizen input. It'd be great.
Okay.
That would be like Provo face or something.
People come up with some pretty good names though.
George mentioned the trees, and we've gotten a lot of public input and questions about if we're planning to remove more trees, and we're not. We have removed 5 trees along this stretch where we're going to put in the boat ramps, but we aren't planning to remove any more. The county has said there are a couple that are very close to the trail that will have to come out, but we're talking about a handful. I think some of the concerns that, you know, all the trees are going to be taken, I don't think that's accurate at all. Maintaining the shade of the trail, I think, is one of the big reasons why it is so popular. It's one of the few places to enjoy a cooler walk in the summer months.
But some of those trees are diseased and just falling over, right?
There are trees that are falling into the channel, and, you know,
obviously, some of those do have to come out, but, you know, the trees that make up the canopy, you know, are,
Pretty healthy.
yeah. And then just to touch on, we do still have a few administrative items to finish up with the city. We've been working, for years on some of these, and you know, I don't think it's even a case of we don't agree on where property lines need to be drawn. It's just a matter of taking the time to finish them up and get them finished, so. Yeah. That's all I have. But I sure appreciate the discussion and everybody's input, and you know, appreciate the support of the city council. We've tried to provide annual updates for this project to this group going back all the way to 2017 and then randomly before that. So we feel like you all have been a part of this project from the get-go.
Well, thank you, Mike. Thanks
Yeah.
for your great work, and it is an important project for our city.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Any
Mike.
questions, other questions for Mike?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was down there just a week ago, and it's just so spectacular. Yeah, it's really amazing. A great spot.
Thank you again.
Oh, I want to thank you on the dam, the first one you built, when you saw it was inadequate, you didn't just stop and leave it there. You're like, no, we're going to fix this thing and make it better, even though it took longer.
Yeah, it took longer and me too. But yeah, it just wasn't going to, I mean, it would work maybe half of the time, but.
Not good
not
enough.
acceptable.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a discussion and update regarding the council handbook. That will be presented by our executive director, Justin Harrison.
All right, good afternoon. I know this is everyone's favorite topic, so no head nodding. We're nodding off. Real quick update. This came up a couple of months ago. And we thought we'd make a quick change to the council handbook just for ease of motions going forward with the redevelopment agency, as opposed to waiting until we did a bigger update. But I don't know if you found this in your packet. It's way down in section 9 in the procedure or rules and procedures for meeting section. We have just added one additional section for other meetings that includes RDA meetings, so that implied motions are now possible for RDA board meetings, and as opposed to making someone make a motion. So that's all we've got.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I fell asleep.
I did think about it when we put the after this was on the agenda, and then we added the stormwater service district tentative budget, that maybe we should add that as well, but someone's gonna have to make a motion tonight to tentatively adopt that, unless you'd like to
We can't make.
give
it
us some,
now.
yeah, you can give us some direction here, and we're happy to add that, but.
Let's do that now before we forget tonight. We can do that now? Brian, legal?
You can do whatever you want.
Yes, you can do that now, and I guess, I think maybe I didn't talk to Justin about this beforehand, because we don't usually take the handbook to the night meeting.
No,
Okay, so I make a
I was talking
motion.
about when they adopt the tentative budget.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
I make a motion that we do what Justin said with the stormwater.
Okay, motion by Councillor Bogdan. Is there a second?
What's the second?
Second by Councillor McKay.
I wasn't even here for it. Trust me.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. Councillor Hanley.
Yes.
Councillor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councillor Garrett, yes. Councillor Whipple.
Yes.
Councillor McKay.
Yes.
And Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
So that motion passes by a vote of 6-0 with Councillor Christensen excused. Great, thank you, Justin.
You're set.
Thank you. Thanks, Becky.
Do we need to pass this now, or is that the night meeting?
Nope, we just do it here. We'll make the update and call it a day.
So everything I said was.
Yep.
What I said, we do what Justin said, okay.
All right, now we have an update from our planning supervisor, Aaron Ardmore. This is an ordinance amending the zone map classification of real property generally located at 2087 West Center from one family residential or 1/8 zone to the general commercial zone. It says CG. Is it CG or GC?
It's CG, yeah, it's inverse of the title. Just for
The Provo Bay Neighborhood.
Okay.
Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. So this property was the subject of a text amendment about a month ago. You may recall that the owner of this lot wanted to come in and reduce the minimum lot size for the agritourism overlay zone from 5 acres to 1. As a kind of a preliminary step to her coming back with that zone change request. Through that discussion with the council was really helpful. Identified maybe a better route to get the uses that she's looking for on the property. So rather than trying to fit a agricultural zone with an overlay, we changed the request. She changed the request to general commercial. So the main reason that had been kind of a secondary idea in prior discussions with the owner was there's a lot of permitted uses in that zone. So you'll notice in your packet, there's a development agreement tied to this zone request that really limits those uses to just, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 uses there. 6 uses that she hopes to achieve on her property. So this would be the first step towards those. The majority of the uses that she wants to do, which stay as conditional uses in the zone, so she'd still have to come back and do conditional use permits and public hearings for those items if the zone change was approved tonight with the DA. But that's just a little bit of background. I'll have more of a full presentation on it tonight, but if you have any questions on your packet or the DA is tied to this request, I'll try to get answers either now or for tonight.
I just want to make sure, so all of the concerns that planning commission had, and all of your concerns are satisfied with this development agreement, correct?
Yeah. So the planning commission, you'll notice that they recommended denial. I think that's a thing that they've been trying to do if there are concerns. They like the idea of it, but without a development agreement in hand, limiting those uses, they thought that was the best way forward.
Right, and this is her first go for it, so I'm thinking, she didn't understand that everything that was going through. Good.
What did the closing time end up being?
What?
The time that they could do business till, what time is the cutoff time?
They didn't put that in the development agreement. That would come with the conditional use permit. So if the zone change was approved, she can come ask for the event center conditional use permit. And through that, we put on the conditions of hours and occupancy.
So we're not worried about that tonight?
That wouldn't necessarily be part of the zone change.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't worry about that because she wants to do a bed and breakfast. And I would only do that that would be
the
my
conditions.
Yeah, the conditions for the event space behind whatever the house is.
But I mean, offhand, she talked about ending by 9:30.
Yeah, that seems so early. Like, well, at least give her till 10.
But all that would be to come.
Okay. All right, so everything that we want now is already in there.
Yeah, the main thing with the zone was limiting the uses allowed in the zone.
I like that.
I like that too. That way, if it ever turns over, she's.
Yeah.
But even so, it's so long and skinny.
It's
It
a
just
fun
makes you
piece.
wonder what
Funny
would
piece.
ever become of it in the future.
Well,
if we
I think my
didn't-
neighbors want. That's what's good.
That's another point of discussion. The dimensions of a lot really already make it hard to establish a lot of those commercial uses that people are concerned about, nuisances. So in itself, that's a limiting factor, but I think this gives us a safeguard.
Yeah, I think so too.
Other questions for Aaron? All right, thank you, Aaron. We'll see you tonight then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we do have a closed.
We've got one very short closed meeting topic from Rachel. And also Nicole has invited the council to attend media training, so we can start one way or the other, whatever is easiest as far as stopping the recording and jumping jumping onto another one. It may be
Would
easier
the
to do
training be in here or
You
in?
just step out.
Yeah, training will just be in here.
Do you wanna?
Why don't we do that first then?
Okay.
Let's go ahead with the training and then we'll move to our closed session.
Do we need to close this meeting to do the training, or can the training be part of our work?
Yeah, training was.
Yeah.
No, it's not part of it.
It's its own separate thing.
Adjourn. And then do the training. Yeah.
Just.
So adjourn this meeting, do the training, and then reconvene and do the closed session?
Well, so I think you would. You will vote right now to close the meeting once we move to the other room. And then you just start it in there like you normally do.
Okay.
So, so. Your character competence issue. So the topic is a character and competence issue, which is approving the statute for closed meeting, so you should appropriate to make a motion to close the meeting to this end.
Okay, we'll look for a motion to close our meeting at this time.
I'll make motion.
Motion by Counselor McKay with a second
I'll
by
second it.
Counselor Bogdan. Thank you. Counselor Hanley,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
Counselor Garrett, yes. Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor McKay,
Yeah.
and Counselor Hoban.
Yes.
Great, so our meeting is closed. We'll reconvene in the other room after we
Right, so we're gonna recess now
recess.
until we reconvene in closed session in
Okay, and we'll now participate in some training.
Recording stopped.
And Travis can stay online, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Stop before.
right, okay.
You've got my presentation.
Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for joining us. I
Well-
understand this is training you've been doing citywide.
Yep, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I didn't like it when I said I invited myself to do media training. I was actually invited and I appreciate it. And I hope that I give you something of that. That's my hope. And yes, to answer your question, sorry about that. So yes, we did essentially this training. I cut out several slides given our, time frame here. I sent it to Justin.
That's right.
You're free.
They've heard me before. They're like, save yourselves, save yourselves. All right. So yes, I'm gonna take off my coat. We gave a broader version of this to our ones and twos. When we do our manager meeting, we get them together and try and give them kind of things that we think will be valuable for them. So this was that. Okay, I wanted to start with this. I know some of you know my history, that I've been a city councilor, so I have sat in the seats that you all sit in, and been a communicator from that role. And then in a number of cities, obviously, I'm wearing the hat I wear now, which is communicating as the city communicator. This was in 2010 when I was the first hired city communicator for Harriman City. And right after I started, like within 6 months, we had the biggest wildfire that we have ever had. Just to give you some scale, 4,300 acres, that was the burn scar. We had to evacuate 1/4 of our population. We had two roads in Harriman, 123rd, 134th, to evacuate 1/4 of our population. We ended up losing 3 homes. It was tragic for our community. And what it did for me was seal in my mind the value of communications and the fact that you earn the trust that you need every single day to handle a crisis of this magnitude when it does occur, hopefully never. But I can remember seeing flames 30 feet high and the fire chief at the time saying, we could lose hundreds of homes. And me as the city communicator and our elected officials, the weight that we felt in that moment, knowing that we needed to communicate in such a way that we were evacuating a quarter of the population who may very well come home to no home. And so I cannot stress enough to you how valuable the day-to-day work is that we do managing our media relations and doing proactive storytelling every single day. And so that is what I try and bring to the cities that I work for, because for me, I've lived it in both of those roles and found it, hugely beneficial. I want to start out with this. Inside each of us is a natural born storyteller waiting to be released. I use the storyteller moniker with my PIOs all the time. In fact, I even got them jackets that had storyteller on the side to remind them that that is what each one of us does. That is what every single person does, for better or for worse, for Provo City, is we tell a story. And so hence the name. And storyteller to storyteller, one of the best compliments you can give to a reporter is to call them a storyteller. They will themselves call themselves storytellers. And as I said, I would say each one of us is a storyteller. When we're coming together for media relations, we're trying to tell the best story that we can tell. And we're both coming together to do that. What are our goals with media? You can see we want to effectively connect with news media and their audiences. I am working on my relationships with media every single day. And there's a reason for that. It's so that when we get crisis, they know me, I know them. They know how we deal with them. They trusted us every other day. And when it's not a crisis, we become a resource. If they are going to tell a city story about a seasonal thing, I want them to think of Provo first. I want us to be the city that they're putting forward. And so I build those every single day for the benefit